Hello and welcome to the program. I'm your host, Neal Howard, here on Health Professional Radio. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our guest in studio today is Dr. Sanam Hafeez. She's here with us to talk about some of the psychological aspects of relationships between women, when to cut people loose, and when to evaluate your current relationships. Welcome to the program, Dr. Hafeez.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your role as the clinical director.
I'm a neuropsychologist. I'm based out of New York City. I'm faculty at Columbia University, and I deal with a myriad of psychological and neuropsychological disorders, from learning disabilities and autism to depression, schizophrenia, and bipolar, and everything in between. Mm-hmm. And I do a lot of work with the media, and I feel it's very helpful to get the word out there about what I know clinically and from a research perspective, because there are always new studies being done, and sort of helping the average person learn how to live their life better without necessarily having to go see a psychologist.
In recent years, there seems to have been, just in, my observation, kind of an upsurge in people seeking, mental health treatment for a variety of reasons. It seems that there's some new condition almost daily. How do you keep up, and do you focus specifically on issues dealing with women?
I don't specifically focus on really just one particular thing anyway. It's just impossible to do that because of the population, the client range that I have, or the patient range that I have. But I do a lot of work with women. And, the way to keep up is that you just pay attention to the new societal changes that you have very little control over. Like, for instance, the social media has become a daily part of our vernacular. Absolutely. And the things that impact, the psychological process, whether we like it or not, it seems silly, when you read about some of this stuff. It's really Facebook envy, or, people who are addicted to, posting on Instagram or Facebook. It really is a thing. And it does impact people. People can spend hours getting lost in social media. And so then you have to start paying attention to these things, because whether you like it or not, it's impacting the community at large.
Mm-hmm. As you said, social media is it's a part of our daily lives. Many of us have to use social media for our employment. Employers seek social media information when deciding when to hire and sometimes when to fire. What advice do you have for folks who are dealing with the stress of their information being readily available and it having such an impact on their control?
Well, if you're the kind of person who has to worry about what's out there, then you should control what you're putting on social media. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people who put things out there, but they're strategically out there. The stuff that they're putting online on social media sites has a purpose for them. They're trying to portray themselves in a certain light because they're hoping that someone in this industry will find them appealing or attractive. But, if you're going to post undesirable, unattractive pictures on a site, and then you expect an employer to overlook them, people are human. They're going to make judgments. So, my advice to all adults, not even just professionals, even teenager, young adults, be watchful, because you don't know where that picture can come across. Like, always assume you're going to run for public office someday and worry that these pictures will come to light. And then you won't do it. There's no reason for someone to see you in that light. So don't do it.
We recently went through the election here in the United States, and worldwide implications, everything from, computer hacking from Russia, all of these things. When it comes to social media, and we're getting our news from social media, why do you think that it is we tend to equate what we do on a social media platform with what we do and what we say with people who we're actually friends with and acquaintances with? Why do you think that there's such a connection there? When it's not actually, we're not actually talking with people intimately. Why do we, assume that what we say on Facebook or some of these other social media platforms is just as safe as when we're talking to someone one-on-one?
Your social media account has a way of making you feel intimate. It has a way of making you feel that this is your safe space. You can say whatever you want. And in a way, it also makes you feel heard, because you feel like once it's put out there, all these different people are going to read it, and it's a way for everyone to express their thoughts, and everyone, wants to be heard. It's a natural phenomenon. Mm-hmm. We like to be felt, important, and heard. So what we don't realize is that there are a lot of people reading what we might put out there who don't know us. It could be friends to friends of friends of friends of friends, like 100 degrees removed. So it's really not that intimate, which again, if you're making a statement that you truly staunchly believe in, that's one thing. But if you're making a statement that could be taken in a different way, that could offend people, you have to be careful about that.
Do you,
as a psychologist, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking, in your experience, as you say, as a psychologist, do you think that a bit of the anxiety or a great deal of the anxiety is a lack of understanding or realizing that social media is not private? And, that's where your bullying comes in. There are a lot of reports of people becoming involved in relationships that are based on social media. They spend sometimes months corresponding back and forth before they ever actually meet. And, they've spent these months becoming emotionally involved in this person. Now they meet them face to face, and, sometimes the concepts and perceptions are totally shattered. And you've got to deal with the anxiety of that. It's just like almost like a breakup or finding out that you've been cheated on.
Well, you're talking from a romantic perspective. There are people involved in social media relationships that are not even romantic. Mm-hmm. For instance, you follow, one particular person or a website, a news outlet, and you make comments. You're one of those, like 500 people who comment about a story. Mm-hmm. There might be someone on there who has commented that, in a way that you didn't like, and you respond to that person. That person responds back to you. And then you go back to check if that person's responded to you. And before you know it, you've got a sort of a nemesis online. And then you're in a relationship with someone you'll never meet. You have no idea who this person is. Mm-hmm. So you're in this back and forth battle with someone over, nothing.
Yes.
So it's very interesting the kind of relationships people end up forming on social media, not just romantic. I mean, those romantic relationships on social media are nothing new. People have been doing it since the age of the AOL-IM, catfishing and all that stuff. But this has become something a little bit more convoluted than that. There's another study that just came out that was very interesting to me. It was a pretty big study that they did, and it focused, I think, more so on the younger people, which they usually do because they're done on university campuses. And it found that people, and this is scary, were very overwhelmingly likely to believe a headline without looking at the source of the information, like whether it came from a lobbyist, whether it came from just anyone who could have put it up. They often will not click on a link that the headline stemmed from. They never delve into the real story to figure out what's going on. They'll just go by the headline, that soundbite, and believe it. Social media, for all the good that it's done, can be dangerous because, as you can see, even from the political climate and some of the things that have gone on in our country, our president-elect was so active on Twitter. So social media is nothing to scoff at anymore. It's serious business. And what we do on there is serious business, and how we respond to or look at what people are doing on social media is serious business. It's not what teenagers do and, when they get home from school anymore. It's no child's play anymore,
Now, what about cutting the cord? When do you unfriend someone, and how do you unfriend someone and not feel guilty about it? Because you're, as we've been discussing, emotionally involved one way or another, maybe not even romantically, but now you need to unfriend them. You need to cut them loose. How do you do that and still maintain some semblance of balance?
A lot of that comes from being self-empowered and feeling confident. If you feel that any relationship, personal or on social media, is eating away at your time in an unhealthy way, it's taking up your mental energy, and it's not helping you grow in positive ways, even if that's not social media, in any form, we should either work to fix it, because the fixing is always the first. I would never say just cut them loose. That's not how things should go. But if you feel like you've tried to address it, you've tried to distance yourself, you've tried to tell this person how you feel, if you can't do it, then, you come first. Your mental health comes first. And if you find yourself sort of brought down by something or the negativity from a certain person or the way they talk, or let's say even their views instigate you or make you feel bad about yourself, or they somehow offend you, you can't tell people what to say, how to live their life. You can't control them. The only person you can control is yourself and your actions. And you don't have to make a very bold, confrontational statement about it. You could just stop, unfollow someone. It doesn't need to be a big, I no longer want to be your friend. It doesn't need to be dramatic. Quietly just step away. And if that person ever confronts you or asks you, say, look, your feed shows up a lot. I don't like some of the things that you say. You have every right to say them. I just don't like, I don't like seeing it. I don't like hearing it. It upsets me. And it's just easier if I don't see it. My day is better, because I have to go to work. I have to pick up my kids. I have to, go. And I don't want this hanging on over me like a dark cloud. And I think most people would understand that because it's not a personal thing. You're just protecting yourself.
Let's talk about your practice. You're a founder and clinical director of Comprehensive Consultation Psychological Services. Where can we go and get information about your practice?
You can go to www.comprehendthemind.com.
We've been talking about several psychological aspects of, social media, but briefly discuss some of the other services that you offer there at Comprehensive.
We do a lot of diagnostic and assessment work, which is very, very important. To anyone listening, I would insist that no matter where you are, before you embark on any kind of treatment, medication, or therapy, you should have or seek out someone who can do a good evaluation using a good interview battery, a standardized test to figure out what's really going on before they try to treat you, because that yields the most effective or the most long-lasting results. It's almost like getting put on heart medication without having any blood work done or a stress test done. You wouldn't do that. So you shouldn't do that with mental health either.
Absolutely. And can our listeners contact you via Twitter?
They can. It's at Comprehend Mind, I believe.
Okay. Great.
And I'm also on Instagram as Dr. Sanam Hafeez, one word.
Great. It's been a pleasure talking with you today, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neal Howard, with Dr. Sanam Hafeez, founder and clinical director of Comprehensive Consultation Psychological Services. Transcripts and audio of this program are available at healthprofessionalradio.com.au and also at hpr.fm. And you can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes.